Hi, and welcome to whatever this ends up being. My name is Daisy, and I have schizoaffective disorder. I have been wanting to make some videos about that for a long time, a few years actually, but I am not very comfortable in front of a camera, so the few times I've attempted, I have not done anything with those videos. But today, I'm gonna try to actually post something. I filmed that part, panicked, and tried to delete it, but we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going. This will be fine. So, yes, I have schizoaffective disorder. If you are not familiar with what that is, basically it has symptoms of both schizophrenia and a mood disorder, either bipolar disorder or major depressive disorder. I have the bipolar type, so I have symptoms of schizophrenia, and then I have the mood swings associated with bipolar disorder. It is a severe mental illness that I think is not as understood on a general population level than others might be. But I really want to talk about it. It has shaped my life. I know that the people it affects, it shapes their lives as well. And as I have grown up with this disorder, yes, I struggle sometimes. Sometimes I really struggle. But I have found a really good balance of things that work for me that I'll talk about later. But I have built a life that I love, and there are a lot of beautiful things that I get to enjoy. I would say for the most part, I'm thriving at this point. It's not always been that way. But I'm hoping by making these videos, I can reach people who either are like me or who love someone who is like me. And I hope to reduce stigma and educate a little bit, but mostly just share my experience and kind of humanize this disorder and the people who are affected by it. So a little bit of my backstory, or my diagnosis story, I guess. I have had symptoms pretty much my whole life. I didn't realize, I didn't know, what it was. I was a really anxious kid. Like, that's probably putting it pretty mildly. I was very anxious all the time from a very young age. Around 3 years old, I remember that feeling of like dread and panic that accompanied a lot of my experiences. When I was 11 years old, I had my first mood episode, I guess. I fell into a very deep depression. At 11 years old, I had no idea what was happening. I did not know the language to use to advocate for help. All I knew was I was incredibly sad, and I was filled with an immense sense of dread. And I will pause here. Some of the things I talk about are going to be tough. I've been through some tough things with my mental health. And so if that's not for you or not for you today, that's fine. Prioritize your mental health above all else. But when I was 11, I remember this feeling like this certainty, I guess, that I was doomed, that I was, honestly, there were times I thought I was just going to die. I didn't know how, but I felt this immense dread that kind of followed me wherever I went. When I was 13, I had my first manic or hypomanic, I guess, episode. Hypomania is, I will talk about it at length, I'm sure. Hypomania is always like fun at first, if that makes sense. You get to this place mentally where you think, this is it. I'm me. I'm feeling great. I'm energized. I have confidence. I don't really need sleep. I don't really need to eat. I'm social. I'm popular, whatever. And it feels really, really good at first. It does not end well. So when I was 13, I had my first hypomanic episode, which, after being depressed for a while, was a very interesting turn. I had mood symptoms on and off through my teen years. I also, in my teenage years, began to experience psychosis, which, once again, I will go into that at length. My high school years were really tough with, I experienced psychosis psychosis, I would say most days of high school, if not all of them. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I was different. I just thought this is normal stuff. Everyone, all teenage girls deal with this. I'm just handling it poorly, I guess, so to speak. I was finally diagnosed when I was 18 years old, which was, 12 years ago. It was 12 years ago that I was officially diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, the bipolar subtype. I remember that day I met with a psychiatrist, and I hadn't really talked about the symptoms I was experiencing with anyone, not really people in my family. I didn't have a lot of friends at the time to confide in, didn't have a therapist or anything. I was really handling this for the most part on my own. My family, loves me and were supportive, but they didn't know the extent to what I was going through, and they didn't know how to help with the symptoms they could see. This was new to them as well as to me. I remember sitting in that psychiatrist's office at 18 years old and finally telling the truth about what I was going through. I knew with the depression I was currently in, once again, I didn't know that's what it was. I just knew the sense of dread and the sense of sadness, this overwhelming sense of, when I say like no self-worth, I mean no self-worth. My self-esteem was in the toilet at the time. I remember opening my mouth for that first time that I told the psychiatrist actually what was happening. And I remember her telling me a few sessions in that she was debating what to diagnose me with based on the symptoms I had displayed and the symptoms I was talking about. She had two in mind that she was kind of looking to see which one fit better. And the first one she said was bipolar disorder. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I do not want that. It felt like a label. It felt like end of days that I could be labeled with bipolar disorder. I had a little bit of familiarity with what that was, and it scared me. It scared me really, really bad. Then she told me she was also debating schizoaffective disorder, and she was leaning that way but wasn't sure, give her some time to kind of go over her notes, talk to colleagues, whatever it was. And I went home that day. I was crying, and I got on the computer, my family computer, and I Googled both bipolar disorder and schizoaffective. When I Googled bipolar disorder, I read the description, I read people's experiences, I looked at the DSM-5 criteria for it, and I remember just feeling oh my gosh, I relate to this so much. I remember just kind of this feeling of, I feel seen, but I also feel scared. Then I looked up schizoaffective disorder and read that, those symptoms. And I read a few experiences of people writing online on blogs, forums, and talking about what it was like to live with it. I remember realizing a little while into reading, I was holding my breath. I was so overwhelmed with this feeling of, oh shit, this is me. There is a name for this, hell I have been living. And for the first time, I remember thinking, well, if this can be managed, if this can be helped, I will do anything. I will do anything. I will try anything. I just knew I couldn't keep living this way. So, as you know, I've already said I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and was put on some medication. I will make a video about this at some point. I have been on a lot of medications. I have a Google Doc of all the medications I've tried, all the side effects I've experienced, things that helped, things that the medication helped, things that, made it worse, whatever. It is a 3-page document with notes. I've tried a lot of things. These days I take, let me see, 5, I believe, 5 medications a day. Yes, 5. And I think it's like 7 pills. One of them I have to take, a couple times. But I do take these medications every single day. I do not skip a day. I will not skip a day. I mean, maybe I miss a day a year. But I know the only way I get to live my life on my terms and feel like myself and function and not have these mood symptoms, not have extreme psychosis episodes. I still have a little bit of both, but to have them at a level that is manageable, I have to take my meds every day. There was a time I was not so good at that. I do know a lot of people have this experience where, you're taking these medications and then you're like, oh, I'm feeling better. I don't need these anymore. And you stop. And then the symptoms come back and you get worse. And then you try the medications. It's a tough cycle. I have been through it. I also will say for people, I also know I've heard this experience as well for people who do experience psychosis. You start the medications, the psychosis isn't gone. And you might, have this feeling or hear these voices or whatever telling you the medications are there to hurt you, or they're making you not yourself, or they're changing your personality, or whatever it may be. And then you stop taking them and then bad things happen. So I have definitely learned my lesson. I have been through both of those experiences a few times years ago. I know now, I am adamant now, Daisy, take your meds. Yeah, so that's kind of a little bit like a little overview of my diagnosis story and where I am now. A little bit about my life now. Like I said, I have a beautiful life. I love my life now. I'm so glad that for all the things I've been through, that I am here and I went through them and I came out the other side for the most part. Things can still be tough. This isn't a linear healing story. This is definitely one with ups and downs. But for the most part, I'm happy and I'm functional. I have a great support system of people who will step in for me and help when I need help and check in with me when I need that. I know as far as, living with this disorder, I am very, very lucky to have ended up where I have ended up for a lot of different factors, a lot of different reasons. And I really try not to take that for granted. But yeah, I'm hoping by making these videos, I can talk about some of these things and share some of the stories. I will be honest, I have some, like I said, very sad experiences and stories. I also have some, I would say, weird, bizarre, intriguing, funny stories as well. This disorder has its moments of making some interesting experiences and stories to tell. So especially like when I've been manic or, some psychosis things. I will try to keep this lighthearted sometimes. I'm not trying to make light of something that is hard, especially when it's hard for so many people. But I also don't want to live my life in this pessimistic doom and gloom mindset. So there will be some humor, I hope. I will try to fit that in when it's appropriate, when I feel like I can. But yeah, if you're watching this and you're interested in hearing more of what I have to say, I hope you will stick around. Okay, my Wi-Fi just went out, so we'll see what happens there. I will get more comfortable in front of the camera, hopefully. And yeah, I guess this is where people say like subscribe or whatever, do what you want. But thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.